What's up, guys? Thank you for listening. This is our first ever episode of Tweener Talk. I am your host, Supreet Vijay Sarthi, and I am joined by my friend and also host of this show, Akil. Akil, how you doing?
Pretty good. This is, as Supreet said, our first episode with this show. We hope to consistently upload these on a weekly basis over the course of this year. And so just to intro me, I'm from Mason, Ohio. Both of us, we live really close to the Western and Southern Open.
Mm-hmm.
That's here in Cincinnati, Ohio. So we've been there for we've been attending that tournament over almost the last decade or so, at least for
Yeah.
me. And yeah, it's really that's really just imp- it's really just had us grow up around tennis at the highest level and really piqued our interest in the sport. That's
Yeah,
just yeah.
we've known each other for almost, I'd say, a decade, maybe longer. We met like in tennis camp we went to, and we both learned that we were both huge Rafa fans. So we got along well, and we've always been talking about tennis through text. We'd play and hit with each other. So we just decided, why not make a podcast out of it and let the listeners listen to our very educated tennis takes.
All right, so that's enough about us. We have our tennis calendar restarting here in the new year. Actually, we've already started in Delray Beach and Talia, but you're gonna see the bigger names coming soon in Melbourne. There's two tournaments there with the calendar this year, and then ATP Cup followed by Australia. That's all in the very near future, so it's very exciting to have tennis back.
Yeah, and with 2020, there were major headlines. The first one, obviously, being how COVID really impacted everyone, but also the tennis world. They canceled Wimbledon, which sucked, but we were still able to have three of our Grand Slams, right? Yeah, we still able to have the other three, and we wanted to like recap 2020 with our biggest headlines, and I think we both agree that 2020's biggest headline is even with all the change and chaos, Nadal still won the French Open, even though it was in October and everyone thought that he wouldn't because the conditions were different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really impressive. First of all, from the tour to be able to squeeze in two Grand Slam tournaments in the span of almost a month at the end of the year, and yeah, I was honestly having doubts myself. I mean, with Nadal being able to pull out the French this year after how he looked coming in with Rome, losing to Schwartzman for the first time. But I mean,
I
he
mean,
showed go ahead.
I was gonna say, I remember for the final of the French Open, you were so scared of Djokovic, but I kept telling you, dude, it's gonna be like the 2019 Australian Open final. I'm telling you, Nadal is just gonna absolutely destroy him. And you didn't believe me, but then we watched it happen. Like the first set was 6-0, and I guess that's when you started to like calm yourself down a bit. Second set was 6-2, and then Djokovic, he had to have some sort of respect for himself, so he made this third set interesting, but it all pulled through. So that was a good tournament.
Yeah, as far as legacy implications, like you have to say that from that default at the U.S. Open, like the biggest beneficiary was Rafa with being able to have Djokovic not pull closer with because he was probably going to, in all likelihood, he was probably going to win that U.S. Open had he not been defaulted. But the gap stayed at two at that after he wasn't able to win the U.S. Open due to the default, and Rafa was able to show that it doesn't matter if it's him if it's him on Chatrier, like it just doesn't matter. Colder conditions, lower bounce, um, just yeah, everything's pretty much new balls, everything's stacked against him. But I mean, I'm not. I believe I've already fanboyed enough with that. I mean, like just in a vacuum, uh, he really was the biggest beneficiary with. It wouldn't have been as big had Djokovic not been able to or not been defaulted and won that U.S. Open. So
Yeah, one day when we get Djokovic on this podcast as a guest, we have to thank him because he always talks about how he has great respect for Federer and Nadal. So clearly, what he was doing when he chucked the ball at the umpire was he was showing respect to Nadal and Federer by saying, "It's I'm not going to try to pass your Grand Slam record," because that's exactly what he was doing. And yeah, as you said, Nadal won the French and increased it to three. So another big takeaway from 2020 would be, I'd say, the rise of what we call the next gen, or whatever critics like to call it. Dominic Thiem finally broke through, won the U.S. Open. Daniil Medvedev, he beat Djokovic and Nadal to win the World Tour final at the end of the year. But let me ask you this: do you think Thiem won the U.S. Open because he didn't have to face anyone in the big three, or do you think he would have beaten, say, Djokovic either way?
I wouldn't have favored him against Djokovic had that final happened because I mean he had a chance. I'm not gonna. A lot of people in the immediate reaction to that said Djokovic was robbed of a major and that he was like a lock to win it. If you like, if you look in retrospect, like team is beginning to turn the matchups between really all of the bit. He was already winning most of his matches with Federer, albeit he has over over a decade on Federer as far as age, but that was happening last year. This year, took out Rafa in Australia, almost took out Novak in his house at Australia. So I don't think you can say Djokovic was a lock, but Team, I have some issues with how what I see from Team in big finals. He's just uh, he doesn't. I don't trust him as far as like the mental aspect. I've seen him fold in a couple of finals. He almost did in this final, anyways, with Zverev. He got it together at the last moment, but yeah, I wouldn't have favored him had Djokovic stayed in the draw, and definitely not if Nadal and Djokovic both were there.
Yeah,
At
I don't think either of us would have favored Thiem if Nadal was in there, considering our large bias towards Nadal. But you brought up a good point. Like, I totally it felt like the 2020 Australian Open, it does not feel like it happened last year, especially
mm-hmm.
because that was in January and then all the crazy stuff started to happen in March. I like totally forgot about that. And if I remember, team was up 2 sets to one and he should have been able to win that, but Djokovic came back in five because that's just what the big three has done for a decade and a half. Even though they seem to be in doubt, they'll pull something out of their like bag and then just be able to win. So yeah,
I mean, I will say Dominic Thiem, like I don't really group him in. I don't think we can group him in with the next. He's just younger relative to the big three, but like he's 27, I believe right now, and that's where if you think back at where Djokovic, Nadal, and Federer were at 27, they'd already racked up like
yeah,
I'm pretty sure all of them had gotten up to double digit slams. maybe Djokovic hadn't, but he was getting there. And yeah, there was. If you think about it in that way, like team should you should expect this out of team. He's in the prime of his career. I don't know how much better he's going to get than this. So like it's still yeah, it's on one hand it's like a credit to those three that you still wouldn't favor someone in their prime like Dominic Thiem against them over best of five, but I don't know. You just it's not just the big three. Like I just feel like all time greats in the past couple of eras have just you expect them to be further along than really anybody in in uh in these next gen and Dominic team guys are at the moment.
Yeah, like we forget that we Andy Murray is still I would think an all time great. He just got unfortunately mixed up with the big three, and he still managed to win three titles, but like he just got unlucky with the timing and theme. Unfortunately, somehow the big three, Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, they're still playing. Honestly, 3 years ago, after Nadal and Federer kind of went through their injuries, I was not expecting them to play this, keep playing into 2021. So yeah, it's just unfortunate. But other younger stars like Medvedev, Sinner, Shapovalov, they're still younger. So I think they'll be able to take most advantage with these three greats like
Mm-hmm.
fading into their career. Well, we can't even say fading because Djokovic and Nadal, I'd assume, are still going to be favorites for every Grand Slam this year.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah. I I don't know, like I just even Murray I feel like was further along than like quicker than Team was, and like Team might end up like just winning maybe more than three slams because I don't even know if that's a guarantee, but like he may win three or more and have a better career in like when he's retired than Murray accolade wise, but like Murray was just the same age as Nadal and Djokovic, so he went through his prime was with their prime. Team's prime right now is like in the it's overlapping with the back half of Nadal, Djokovic, and Fed, and I think him and like all the Zverev, Tsitsipas's, Medvedevs, they're great. They're better than the challengers that were there when those guys were in their prime, like the lost gen people call it, with like Dimitrov, Nishikori, Raonic, all those guys. I mean, they're
Yeah,
better than those guys, but uh, I just still think that they should have done more considering they're not playing the big three in their primes like
I think it's also a mental thing. Like the big three, like everyone thinks you're going to lose, and sometimes they're just going in saying, "All right, I'm going to try this first set." I don't. Some of those guys, I don't think they went in thinking they could actually have a chance of winning.
mm,
That's probably the problem. But with keeping that in mind, we're on to a new season. It's 2021. So why not have some overreactions and bold predictions, I'd say, to start off the season before any of the major tournaments happen. My first overreaction is I don't think Federer is winning a Grand Slam. His last Grand Slam will be the 2019 Australian Open. What do you think?
2018.
2018 Australian Open, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't think that he's going to win another major. I mean, I wouldn't rule it out because he's still he's still made he's still made a lot of people out to look like fools over the from like 20
Mm-hmm.
2017 on, and he should have won Wimbledon last 2019 now, and
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I wouldn't bet. I wouldn't bet on Federer winning another major. But he still can do it. I still think he can do it, but I don't think it will happen at this point. He's almost four. He's going to be 40 this year,
Wait,
and
really?
yeah, in
He's
August.
39? Okay. I always like, I don't know, I guess just me in my own bubble, but I'll always, for some reason, believe that like Nadal and Djokovic, they're still like 28, 29, 30, and Federer's still like 35. Like
Yeah,
that,
that's.
that's just how I'll remember them. Like
Mm,
Federer being 40 just never crossed my mind. That's
hmm.
insane. Now I kind of actually want him to win Grand Slam because I don't think anyone's ever won at
I
40, right?
Yeah, I don't think so, but I want him to win another major just because I don't want him to go out with his last chance at a major being last year's
Yeah.
Wimbledon. That would just be brutal. I just yeah,
Yeah,
that
that was a brutal way of ending. For those who might not remember, he was up 40-15 in the fifth set, and he was up a break. So pretty much he had two chances to win, and he wasn't able to. Djokovic had one really good return, and then Federer just did not play. Of all the points, brilliant points he played in that match, you could probably argue that those 2 points he had for championship point were probably two of his worst points, and he just could not win that. Which, as an Nadal fan, it's mixed feelings because he didn't extend his Grand Slam lead, but also you kind of have to feel bad because Federer is known for blowing 40-15 leads, and it continued there too.
yeah, I mean I don't expect Federer this year to I don't expect a massive drop off. I don't think he's going to. You're gonna see him, and he's gonna be playing like he did in 2013. I don't think you're ever really gonna get a washed up Roger Federer where it's like he can't stay in the top 10, he slips out of the top 20. I think he'll still be a top 10 player this coming year with whatever he plays. And I would still give him a chance at Wimbledon because he's still got to be one of the three favorites. There's only two guys that can beat him. The young guys haven't really proven themselves on grass at all. Out of all of the surfaces, their worst is on grass, but and he is the greatest grass court player of all time. So last we saw him at Wimbledon, he almost beat Nadal and Djokovic back to back to win a 21st major there for which would have been historic. So yeah, I don't think you can rule him out at Wimbledon, but I don't expect much from any of the other majors this year, and this could be his last year. So we don't know, but
Yeah, he already pulled out of the Australian Open. I'm thinking he's still playing because he wants one last shot at the Olympics, which are happening this year.
yeah, I think Olympics and Wimbledon is going to be what he's going to look to peak for. But
Hmm.
I don't know if he plays the French now because coming off of two knee injuries,
Yeah,
he might just
French
save it.
clay court's probably the worst possible service for like bad knees.
Yeah, he might just save himself for Wimbledon and the Olympics. He hasn't played great at the U.S. Open in a very long time, so I wouldn't look at that changing this year after a pretty loaded summer with Wimbledon and the Olympics happening.
Hmm.
But I still expect him to be a top 10 player, and I still expect him to be closer to 5 than 10 at the end of the year.
Yeah. So, do you have any overreactions or bold predictions?
Um, I made a video about the what I thought about the next gen and team this past year, and I did say I don't think team is going to win a major this year. I don't think he's gonna.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna win a second one because I think a lot of circumstances lined up for him to win that U.S. Open. I mean, credit to him. He took care of business throughout that tournament
Yeah,
until the very end. But
he almost lost his Zverev in straight sets. Yeah, Zverev had a two set to love lead. Honestly, I wasn't even gonna watch that match because I was fully expecting the team to just thoroughly dismantle Zverev, and
yeah, I
then
think.
like an hour because also
Mm.
so I was just not interested because Nadal wasn't in it. But I look in the match like an hour into it, and Zverev's up two sets still up, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And that pulled me in, so I ended up watching it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought that because team was playing really well up until until the final, and Zverev was playing pretty bad. I think he only made that final because of Djokovic going out, Tsitsipas melting down against Coric. I think he dropped
Yeah, yeah.
from like 6 match points up. I don't think he beats Tsitsipas, and I for sure don't think he beats Djokovic. The guy was down 2 sets to love to Pablo Carreno Busta in the semis, anyways. So,
Carreño Busta did have a one set lead on Djokovic though before he disqualified himself, so we don't know. Obviously, what happens usually is the big three, Djokovic and Nadal, they'll fall a set down and then dismantle you in the next three sets. But that's going to be a big what if because Carreño Busta against Djokovic, he was playing like lights out tennis.
yeah, but yeah, Djokovic would have found a way. I just feel like
Yeah.
but yeah, getting back to team, like I said before, I wasn't very impressed. I haven't been impressed with him in his big finals, and that I mean, not the Australian Open was fine. That U.S. Open was further evidence of it. Like, I don't trust him mentally in these big finals, and he had a couple opportunities to lock up the World Tour Finals against Medvedev in the second set. He had a couple chances to put himself in position to close that match. He didn't take them, and yeah, he hasn't. He made both of. He does a lot of heavy lifting going into these finals. Like he
Hmm.
beat Nadal heading into the Australian Open final. He beat he beat both Nadal and Djokovic heading into the World Tour finals. He's beaten Nadal in a couple of smaller clay court, well, Masters clay court tournaments, only to go lose like finals to. He lost Madrid to Zverev after beating Rafa in 2018. He lost badly to Djokovic in 2017 when Djokovic was slumping. He lost him like 0-1 after he beat Rafa then. And there's just lots of examples of that. He does a lot of like good work heading into, but he just doesn't finish the job, and the only reason I think he did that this U.S. Open is because a lot of circumstances lined up for that to happen, for him to play Zverev in the final, and he still almost squandered that. And I don't think this year there he's gonna get a chance as good as that. So yeah, I don't think he's winning a slam this year. I could see.
Speaking of that, I have a question. Who are you more confident in going into this year of winning a Grand Slam? Medvedev, Tsitsipas, or Team? Or even throw in like Yannick Sinner, because I feel like those four are well, Tsitsipas, Medvedev, and Team. Those three are clearly like if you put the big three in tier one, I feel like those three are tier two. Yannick Sinner has had like a meteoric rise. So of those four, Yannick Sinner being a wild card, or even Kyrgios. Let's throw Kyrgios into that mix. Who do you think wins a Grand Slam like first?
um First, I think I would have to go Medvedev, but I haven't. He's been pretty mediocre, or at least not as good as he probably should be at slams outside the U.S. Open. Like I don't think he's made a quarterfinal at any of the other majors, and he's horrible on clay. He's gone out for. I don't think he's won a match at the French Open yet. Like, and so I would look for that to change this year. I think he'll do better at the in Australia and surprisingly I think Wimbledon suits him well. I think he'll make a deep run there this year. Because I mean, yeah, you saw it at the end of the year this year. The lower bounce really helps Medvedev in being more offensive, and since he doesn't have as much firepower and
See, that's where I disagree with you. I think to have win Wimbledon, you need one strong weapon, like the serve. I don't think
serve is
Medvedev
great
has
though.
a
Like
good enough
that's
serve.
his. That's also his serve is great though. Like it's not huge, but he play it's pretty big and he places it really. It's a weapon and yeah, I just feel that's why I feel that and the lower bounce helping him finish points more easily is why I feel like he would do well at Wimbledon and think he'll go relatively deep there this year.
Yeah, I'd go with Kyrgios. He's always a wild card. He has the serve. He has the forehand. The only problem with him is, well, I don't think he has any problems. What critics say is he doesn't have the motivation, and I guess even he said himself in the Wimbledon press conference in 2019 was that he doesn't have the motivation to practice every day. But I still think one of these tournaments he's just going to go on a run and win. Probably, I'd say the Australian Open. If there is a crowd in Australia, he'll feed off of that and win. But yeah, I think he has the best shot out of all those guys.
Um,
Probably because he just doesn't care when he plays. He's just going out there playing for fun. In all honesty, I think he's just playing for fun.
it would
While
be a
other
great.
guys are just like actually serious. He's just out there chilling and just playing and winning,
I
which
mean,
is
I
a
think
fascinating thing to see.
yeah, I think Kyrgios would be a great story if he won. I think he has like the most like superstar quality out of all of those younger guys as far as like popularity. People love watching him. He's a lot of fun to watch when he's interested, and yeah, he has the talent to, but we've been saying that forever, and
I think 2021 is the year. I think it's the year.
I pretty much I gave up on. I wanted Kyrgios to win just one slam, just put it together for one. That's what I feel like he. That's the only way I feel like he'd win a slam is if he'd win one, just put it together for 2 weeks one time. But I gave up on Kyrgios winning a slam after his meltdown against Kachanov actually here in Cincinnati in
Oh yeah, yeah.
2019. Yeah, I gave up. I gave up on Kyrgios as far as like winning a slam then, and um, it's not even just motivation. Like he's not like he doesn't train hard enough to where like I trust him over 2 weeks to go through a best of five tournament, 7 matches. Like he might upset what he can upset one of the big three. Maybe that'd happen, or he'd upset someone big like Team. But I don't think his body would hold up for a whole slam.
hmm Yeah, he has a. Actually, let's check. I'm pretty sure he has a winning record against Federer and Djokovic, right? And he has a. I know he has a winning head-to-head against Djokovic.
He does against Djokovic, but it's only 2 matches, and that was 2017. So I don't really. I mean, he'd probably still play him tough because he just plays up to his competition like that. But if they
Oh
played
wow.
now, I think it'd be much different because Djokovic is just way better than he was in 2017.
Yeah, but Djokovic was also way better than Kyrgios. Well, yeah, you said that, but Djokovic is always going to be considered better. But Kyrgios still has the firepower to beat him. Yeah, for the Federer Kyrgios, it's 6-1. Federer's favor. It's
It's
2-0, like you said, against Djokovic. And then Nadal, I think, has a winning
kind
record.
of close, but yeah, Rafa has a winning
I think
head.
it's 3-all against them, right? It's even.
I think Rafa's ahead by like two or three now after
Yeah,
those last.
it's 5-3 after I guess him beating Kyrgios in Wimbledon and in the Australian Open by the same score. That was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like he beat him in the Wimbledon, not Wimbledon, Australian Open. Hey, yeah, and Wimbledon 6-3, 3-6, 7-6, 7-6. That's a fun fact for you guys. All right. So our next topic is the ATP Cup, which, if we're going off last year's ATP Cup, I am a major fan of. And the 12 countries qualified are Serbia, obviously because of Djokovic, Spain because of Nadal, Austria because of Thiem, Russia, Greece, Germany, Argentina, Italy, Japan, France, Canada, and Australia. So, of all those countries, who do you think has the best shot? And which team intrigues you the most?
Um, I mean, favorites, I guess, would have to be Spain, just because you have such a good first, no, like number one singles player in Nadal, and then RBA is like probably the best out of all the second singles players in every team. So, and they're really solid at doubles, so I would say they have to be favorites. But I don't know. I would have more fun. I had a lot of fun watching Australia last year because, as you said, Kyrgios loves playing for his home crowd. He was a lot of fun to watch all of ATP Cup last year. But I mean, I think that now, yeah, he's not there because Millman's ranked higher than him now, so he's their second singles player, and De Minaur's their first. So yeah, he's not at ATP Cup this year, so I don't know
He's
how.
not playing?
Yeah, I don't think so. No.
Really? He wouldn't even play doubles? Because Kyrgios, I'll be honest, he's a very underrated doubles player, I feel. Let's check. Oh, yeah, to miss ATP Cup next month. But I just pulled up an article. It says he's forced to play in the ATP 250 event. I
Yeah,
don't know why
because
he's being forced. That should be an interesting headline.
I'm pretty sure it's because they take your top two ranked players from your nation to play singles, and Millman's ranked higher than him now, so
They didn't want him for doubles, though? That's interesting.
I don't know. I don't.
I might be in a. I feel like it's probably for the best because him being forced to play doubles, that might hurt his ego a bit. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like without Kyrgios in for Team Australia, they certainly lose their intrigue. I'm most interested to see how Team Russia performs.
Oh yeah, that's
Team
right.
Russia has Medvedev, Khachanov, and Rublev, which probably should have added that to the list when I asked you earlier. Rublev,
Mm.
he shot up the rankings as well, mostly because he was playing in a lot of smaller tournaments, but he still won them. So he's he has a lot of firepower. I love his game, and he should be an interesting player to watch this year. But yeah, I think Team Russia, behind obviously Team Serbia and Spain, I think they're a pretty decent favorite.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They'll be good because I don't know if Kachanov is playing singles for the same reason because he's ranked lower than Rublev now, so I don't think he's gonna be playing singles. But I'm not sure if he's on Team Russia right now. But if he played doubles, that'd be sick. But
It
yeah,
says here,
they're
okay,
loaded. Yeah.
for Russia, Medvedev, Rublev, yeah, Khachanov isn't on the list. See, the problem I think with all these countries is they have like they're in because of their top player representing that country. It's like Austria, Dominic Thiem, but they don't have anyone else
Yeah. Same
that
with
makes
Greece.
major splashes.
Same with Greece. Yeah.
Yeah, Greece has Tsitsipas, and then they have players whose names I don't want to attempt to pronounce because I don't want to get it wrong. But yeah, they don't have any like big names. Argentina, Schwartzman, he's a good player to watch. But again, Guido Pella though, he's beaten the dollar Djokovic a couple times, right? Maybe once.
I don't, I don't, I don't think he's beaten them, but I mean he's pretty consistent. So I do wish we had Delpo on
Yeah,
tour back, but he's we have a lot of guys coming back from a lot of big names coming back from injury this year. I mean, I don't know when Delpo is gonna be back. You haven't. I read something that he's like he's having like problems with his knee still at this point. So I don't know. I would expect to see him back this year, but I don't know if he's gonna be back this year. And honestly, he might not be back at all because I mean, if Juan Martín del Potro walked away from tennis right now, like everyone would understand. He's the most like injury plagued player in recent memory, and yeah, the guy is pretty much the Derrick Rose of tennis. Like you never really got to see him unlocked, but that's a bit of a tangent. But yeah, we have just to highlight, we have
yeah,
two
yeah.
guys
I
coming
feel
off.
like Del Potro is also the most well liked in all of tennis. Like everyone loves him. I don't think there's anyone who can truly say I don't like Del Potro. He's just like what they say, the gentle giant. And he's had some big moments. He won the U.S. Open in 2009 against Federer. The biggest surprise I thought was in the Rio Olympics when he just soundly defeated Djokovic in the first round. But yeah, he's had his moments, and if he does walk away, I'll definitely miss him because he just had that like presence that if he was playing, you had to watch him because he also was a great player.
Hmm. Yeah. I, let's see. I don't. Yeah, that's just to highlight that we have Federer coming back this year off of major injury. Maybe Delpo back too off of an injury.
Yeah, let's hope so. Vavrinka?
Yeah, Stan has been back, but like Stan, he's never like recaptured his. Yeah, he's had a couple matches like here and there, but he's never like recaptured that bit of magic he had when he was winning slams from like 2014 up until he got injured in 2017. But I think that's age. Stan is getting up there, so he's not as good as he used to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. So you said we had Federer back, coming back whenever. He already has let everyone know he won't be in the Australian Open. Obviously, not in the ATP Cup. Hopefully, we see him back in time for Wimbledon. Wawrinka, Del Potro. Yeah. Dimitrov, I believe he got injured at the end of the year too, right? Let's hope.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I don't remember with him, but let's see. When's the last time I remember seeing Dimitrov? Yeah, I don't really remember.
The last thing I remember of him was when he had that deep run in the 2019 U.S. Open,
Yeah, same. And
where he beat Federer in that pretty epic five-set quarterfinal.
I don't
But
know. Yeah, he might have been injured. Yeah, because I don't remember, unless I'm just like blanking. I don't remember anything with him since he played Rafa in Acapulco this in 2020.
yeah.
But since then, I don't really remember.
Mm-hmm. All right. So to wrap up this week's episode, the opening episode, we need some predictions. So we're gonna make our predictions for Grand Slams now, so we can keep track. Let's do women's and men's to make it interesting. So I will start with the Australian Open. For the Australian Open for men's, I'm gonna say I think Nadal will win it. No bias in that. I think his time has come. Like all the injuries, I think he'll finally overcome it and win. And then for women's, I'm gonna go Pliskova for women's because she's a pretty good tennis player and she hasn't won a Grand Slam. And I think with the women's game, it's so wide open that anyone could win. I think she's gonna win. What about you?
Australia, yeah, I have to go Djokovic. His record speaks for itself there, and like I'm not I'm not gonna overreact to some dip in form he showed at the end of 2020. Like I think he'll be fine. He'll be fine once he steps on on Rod Laver. He's been as close to. I mean, obviously nobody is Rafa at the French, but it's like a baby version of that. He's as close to a lock there as anything else. And so, yeah, I have to give him the benefit of the doubt on that. He's still the best player in the world. And women's, yeah, it's more, as you said, it's way harder to predict. So, uh,
Kind of throwing you on the spot here.
I think I'll say Hollop on a gut feel at
Yeah,
because
she's pretty good. That's a good pick. All right, for French Open, I'll go Nadal again. Don't worry, there's no bias. And then for women, I'm gonna go Svitolina.
hmm, all right. French. Obviously, yeah, the male pick. Same reason as Djokovic. He's Rafa Nadal at the French. There's no explanation needed other than that. So yeah, Nadal at the French for number 14.
Easy
And
play.
women's uh I'm gonna say Sloane.
That's a good pick. She's been in the finals a couple times. She's made deep runs there. I like that pick. That's a good pick. But of late, she's kind of been
Yeah,
getting
she hasn't
bounced
been
in
great.
earlier rounds.
Yeah, she hasn't been great for a while, so but yeah, I think she suits Clay nice since she can move it. She's really fast, so yeah.
Mhm. All right, for Wimbledon, this is where my prediction is bold. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna stick to my gut. I'm gonna say Kyrgios. This is where he strikes and he's
Mm.
gonna win. I don't usually Wimbledon the same way Australian Open. Everyone tends to go to Djokovic because that's his backyard. The French Open is literally owned by Nadal. They should name a court after him. One of these days, I think they will. We used to say that Wimbledon was Federer's backyard, but I don't know. His injury gives me doubts, so I'm. This is where I'm gonna go big and say Kyrgios wins Wimbledon. And on the women's side, I think Halep wins because she's won it before, and I think she'll win it again.
All right. Okay, so me actually I actually do have a like not winner, but I think a bold call on Wimbledon. I think Nadal's gonna go deep, and I'll say I think Nadal's gonna go to the final this year at Wimbledon because he's rediscovered his form on grass, and uh, like I don't know Federer if he peaks will probably beat him like in 2019, but with Federer almost being 40 at that point,
That's
I
still
think
hard to picture. 40-year-old Federer.
yeah I think because he's he's gonna be 2 years older than he was then. I think I'd favor Nadal over him there, but I'm gonna say Djokovic Nadal final there, and Djokovic is gonna take that. Yeah, I say Djokovic for Wimbledon, and on the women's side, I'll go Serena. I still think she has a slam left in her, and she's great. at Wimbledon. It most rewards the serve, and she still has the best serve in women's tennis. So yeah, I'll go Serena there.
That's a good pick. I don't know why, but with Serena, she always makes it to the finals and then she collapses. That seems to be a trend the past couple of years. I don't know why that is. Probably because Serena is like everyone's goal and they wake up
Yeah.
like with 1,000% motivation
Yep.
because of her legacy and her greatness. All right, for the US Open, I want to say Nadal will win, but I'm going to be realistic. I'm going to say this is where Djokovic will probably win a Grand Slam. And then for the women's side, this is where I'd say Serena Williams would win.
All right. For me, I'm gonna. I've always thought that the U.S. Open is the most open for one of these outsiders to win one. Over the last couple of years, you saw it with Team last year, and yeah, I mean, guys are just more tired at that point, so the season's worn down on them. So I'll go Medvedev for a maiden major at the U.S. Open next year, and um, I'll say I really want to say Andreescu because
Oh,
she's probably
that's
my favorite of the like younger women on tour.
that's a good pick. I totally forgot about her. She
Yeah,
kind
I know
of
because she's been injured so much. That's why I waited till the U.S. Open because like I think she'll have her legs back underneath her by that time. So I'll take a I'll take a I'll take Andreescu for the
yeah,
U.S.
yeah. She won 2019. It was either Montreal or Toronto, and then
and
she
the U.S. Open. Yeah.
yeah, she won the U.S. Open, beating Serena Williams in both finals. Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Again, yeah, I feel like COVID. I blame COVID for not remembering these things. It's like the 2019 season feels like ages ago.
Yeah.
The 2020 Australian Open feels like 5 years ago. Like not many people. Well, at least I don't. Like it does for me. It doesn't feel like it was last year. But yeah, that wraps up our first episode. We hope you guys enjoyed. I certainly had a fun time talking tennis with you, Akil. And we'll try to put out episodes once a week, maybe when Grand Slams start twice a week to look over big time matches. But yeah, any last words?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for our first episode. Yeah, hopefully we keep this going. It was a good time for it was a good use of an hour almost, and yeah, excited. We have tennis back finally, and we're finally gonna have a couple of our favorite faces back in a couple of weeks, so it should be fun.
Yeah, and for future episodes, we're definitely going to try and have guests. So look forward to that. We already have like some guests lined up. So yeah, again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys soon.